Hi, this is Sarah.
And this is Rachel.
And this is the Ripper Diaries, a podcast where we rip apart episode by episode the Vampire Diaries. Warning, this is a rewatch podcast, so we always talk about things and spoil things through the context of a rewatch.
Definitely. This week we're talking about season 3, episode 16, I think it is. 1912. Obviously a flashback episode.
Yeah.
We're trying to get to the bottom of who is the serial killer in Mystic Falls.
Yeah, the whodunnit, as Damon calls it.
Yeah.
This was an episode that I, for some reason, thought I didn't like. Like, we've talked about this before, where it's always one where, 1912. Like, it's one I remember not enjoying. But I was so surprised rewatching it this time. I was like, this is a fantastic episode. What was I thinking? Like,
yeah, I know. I was thinking the same thing. I remember, last year when we were watching, we were like,
for fun.
We're just going to stop at 1912. I don't even care.
Yeah,
even though it's right before all the good stuff.
I think it was where we stopped our fall rewatch last year because we were just whatever.
Yeah.
1912. This is a great episode.
Yeah, it was actually really good. I think in my mind I dislike it because we introduced Sage, who
That's what I
hate,
think too. Yes.
But I have more to say on her. She's not even really in it.
She's not even in it. There's so many good things to say about this episode. Off the top, fantastic acting from Paul and Ian specifically.
I was thinking that too.
So many, bring it up as it comes up. But yeah, Paul and Ian I felt really stuck out. Great cinematography. There were so many shots that I was like, oh my gosh, they're doing something, camera movement, unique things, to the point where I was like, who directed this episode? Because this person is standing out to me. And of course it's John Baring, our favorite TVD director. We always mention when he directs an episode because it's always
good.
I really did not remember that he did this one, and it was just really standing out to me where I was like, this person is really doing really cool shots, the way they're framing the camera. There were some good shots. Choices with the lighting. I was like, this person's doing something. And of course it was John Baring. Of course it was.
He's so good.
And the other thing I want to highlight about why I like this episode so much is it has such strong season 1 vibes. Which I will mention in many, many scenes. But there's so many season 1 vibes that get brought back in this episode, which I really appreciate. And I feel like as a fan of the show, you'll inherently appreciate it. Season 1's so nostalgic. It's so good.
Yeah. There was one thing that I'm immediately coming to mind right now that I was screaming about.
I know what it's going to be. I know.
Good.
But anyway.
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it because first we have to start right off the top in a 1912 flashback. We get to see Mystic Falls in 1912. We're starting off with 2 men leaving a building, presumably from some sort of meeting. And we immediately find out who they are through their conversation. It's Mr. Salvatore and Sheriff Forbes. So we know you inherit your jobs.
Jobs are hereditary.
Yeah, even though Liz married into the Forbes family. I don't know. That's why she had to marry in, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
To be sheriff.
There's some Targaryen something going on there.
Just a little bit. But clearly, these founders in 1912 are still aware of the vampire problem. They are talking about, the vampire problem. And another thing that gets revealed in this conversation that, our modern-day founders are dealing with, somebody is killing council members in 1912, which is a pretty big, info drop, right at the start of the episode. And Zachariah Salvatores, his first name, he says that only one councilman has been murdered.
Yeah.
That does not make an epidemic if just one person has died. Even though Sheriff Forbes seems to be pretty concerned about their safety. But Zachariah is not concerned, so he walks off into the square by himself in the dark, and he hears a noise behind him, and he turns around and suddenly gets stabbed and just dies right there in the square. Huge thing.
So good.
Our first clue, our first indicator that the murdering councilman thing is an epidemic.
It's happened before.
It's been a B plot lately because of the originals, but it was obviously already a big thing. But now the weirdness that it happened 100 years ago is very, very odd. And then we get the great shot that I love so much of it, pans out to show the town square, the famous clock tower view, and this beautiful crescent moon in the sky over it. It's so picturesque. And then that image fades from a 1912 town square into the modern town square that we know and love. And it's just this great transition.
It's so good.
Again, this is what I was saying about John Baring. There's these bold choices of how do we take something from a flashback into the present day that it's done really, really well. It's such a beautiful, cool thing.
I know. I was thinking they should have had him on all of the flashback episodes because I do, even though I was dreading this episode, like we said, This was a flashback episode I thought was really well executed.
It's so well executed. Yeah, it was a very rewarding rewatch because you get little beautiful things like that. And it takes you right then into a modern scene in the town square.
Little girl fight. We see the present day Sheriff Forbes, not the 1912 Sheriff Forbes. Liz and Mayor Lockwood are walking towards the police station. They're fighting. And Liz is telling Carol that, yelling at her isn't going to help get the murder solved any faster. And Carol tries to tell Liz that it's her duty to, keep her in the loop, as the mayor, of course. And Liz tells her, no, it's her duty to just not accuse an innocent person of murder. Thank God. Liz is one, good thing this episode.
Yeah, she is.
She's, trying to be cautious a little bit.
Yeah, but of course Carol is basically I don't care if you have the right person or not. I need someone's head on a stick now. That's the vibe she's giving.
She really is. And Carol's tell me who it is. Come on. And then, of course, we cut to Alaric waking up inside of what is clearly a holding cell in a jail.
Yeah.
It's on a mat there's nothing in there. It's just a cell. And then we go a little bit later and Alaric is talking through the bars of the cell with Liz and now Damon has arrived.
Yeah. Give me Damon Salvatore.
Salvatore. She was come on.
Yeah, he was either Alaric's first call or Liz's to be I don't know what to do with this. Yeah.
Truly probably both. And Alaric is telling them from the cell that he didn't do this. And Liz explains both sort of to Alaric and Damon that she's detaining Alaric for his own good because he was shot and Meredith had to give him vampire blood to heal him.
If this wasn't already our out-of-pocket last episode, it still would be because it really is so wild.
It only gets more wild because Alaric is what? Meredith is
why am I in a jail cell? She shot me and I'm locked up? What?
Makes no sense. And, Alaric basically says that and Liz is yes, because you came at her with a knife.
He just picked it up and she was you weren't supposed to see that. Bang. She literally...
She shot after, just seeing him. We saw the scene.
Which I kind of understand, just being, a man with a knife, immediately terrified.
Fair.
But also... Yeah, it really was...
He did not come at her.
No, he did not.
Yeah, no. But Alaric doesn't even argue that. He's just yeah, but with the knife I found hidden in her stuff.
Yeah.
And Damon chimes in and is are we going to ignore the part where he's one of the killer's victims? He was stabbed almost to death. And Liz tells them that Meredith suggested that maybe Alaric's wounds could have been self-inflicted. And Alaric is, again, shocked. He's what?
Yeah.
But Liz says she doesn't really know what to think. She's got nothing to go off of except murder weapons that were in Alaric's stash and a respected member of a founding family pointing a very long finger.
Yeah, I love that phrasing. I thought that was so funny.
I know. I like that, too. And Alaric tries to tell Liz that he's being framed, but Liz says she doesn't have any proof of that either.
Yeah.
And Damon is I'll find the proof.
Yeah, of course. This is my problem now.
He's going to take over. But Liz is no, stay out of it. And then Damon tries to argue with her a little bit. And Liz is don't make me put you in that cell with him.
Yeah, she gets fired up.
She does. She's very fired up.
To the point where he looks honestly kind of surprised and shocked and be okay, Liz, I'll back off.
Yeah, she's taking this one seriously.
Yeah, and it is serious. People are getting murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not the usual vampires draining people of blood. This is completely out of your depth situation that they've been. This is human on human murder. What is going on?
That is her actual job description. She has to deal with that.
As a small town police chief or whatever,
I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, that is not what you're signing up for. That is the case of a century. That
truly
does not come around once in 1,000 years.
Literally, yeah, it was
almost
almost
a century ago. But anyway, so yeah, she's taking it seriously as she should. Mm-hmm. People who are being
a little unserious,
but sort of serious, is of course Matt and Elena, who are going for a run. We see them running through the streets of Mystic Falls together. Mm-hmm. Again, we're getting all these fall athletic vibes. I know. There's such a tone to this part of the season. Elena, though, is hauling.
Sprinting.
She is, running for her life. And Matt's just trying to keep up. And he asks her, are we running a marathon right now? What is going on? And Elena sasses him, suggesting, well, if you can't keep up. But he says, Elena, you can't outrun your problems. Matt really likes to cut right to the chase. He's does. He will call out anybody. He either learned this from Caroline or this is why he and Caroline were together.
That's true.
Same vibe right there. But anyway, Matt just completely stops running at that point. He's obviously
okay,
I'm
we gotta
so
talk.
over this. But Elena's still running full speed ahead. So to get her attention and make her stop, he yells out, I talked to Bonnie. Elena immediately stops and turns around and asks what Bonnie said. As we saw in the last one, like, Bonnie's icing her out right now. She doesn't want anything to do with her. And Matt lets her know that they're at Abby's place now, and that Abby has decided to complete the transition into a vampire. And Caroline is there helping, and she's going to help Abby through the transition and help her, like, learn control after. And Elena asks, like, if there's anything that she can do to help too. And Matt just says, she knows it's not your fault. She's just upset, which I thought was such an interesting answer to that question, because it's obviously not like a yes or no, you can't do anything. It's just like the thing you can do right now is stay away, unfortunately. Like, that's kind of the only thing that's going to help.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Elena's response to that is, it absolutely is my fault. This, like, happened to save my life. Like, it is because of me, which, like we talked about a lot in the last episode, like, it's so gray. It's so hard to, like, I see why Elena feels that way, especially after getting this reaction from Bonnie. But obviously, at the end of the day, it is not Elena's fault. So it's just such a weird situation. I feel so bad for her.
I know.
But anyway, Elena starts to, like, turn away, like she's gonna run again, and Matt just goes, "You're gonna make me run more, aren't you?" He's so funny this episode. But before she can start doing that, Elena's phone rings. She picks it up, says that it's Sheriff Forbes, and we only hear Elena's side of the conversation, but you hear, like, a dramatic "he what?"
Yeah.
Clearly, we know who this is about. Clearly, another problem is coming up for Elena because her guardian is currently in jail.
Yeah, not looking good for Elena and her whole household.
No.
But anyway, Elena obviously gets that call and immediately goes right to the police station.
Ran there, probably.
Yeah, probably ran there. Yeah, poor Matt. He couldn't keep up. He was like, I'm going home after this.
Yeah.
And she, like, walks inside and sort of, like, looks around, and then she sees and makes a face. And Damon walks up to her and tells her that Rick is fine. Liz told Damon to stay out of it. And Elena is like, but you're not going to, are you? And Damon says, it seems just as good a plan as any. But Elena is like, what do you mean? Your friend is in jail. You have to do something. Obviously so out of character for Damon to be like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
And Damon says, well, I guess I could rip out Dr. False Accusation's throat, maybe her tongue. You know, I could chew it up into tiny pieces and feed it to the squirrels.
And then he does, like, a little chewing like a squirrel.
That's good.
So, like,
he's on one in this episode.
He's on one. Well, and, you know, this is kind of what I think about this scene generally. So maybe what we said, like, later in it, too. But, like, he's just trying to piss Elena off.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
for sure.
And we talked about it a bit in the last one, too. Like, he's just on this rampage of, like, she's not going to choose me over Stefan. Stefan is obviously on the road to get her back. So, I'm just going to keep blowing this situation up so that there's no reason she would choose me. Like, it makes sense why she didn't choose me. So that's kind of what I'm going to chalk this up to.
Definitely.
The self-implosion.
He's really taking it as far as he possibly can.
Yes, absolutely.
But Elena tells him to stop it, of course. And Damon's like, oh, so I guess me staying out of it is a good thing then, huh? And, oh, by the way, you're welcome for saving your life last night. Yeah. And obviously Elena is like, does not love that. It's like, you could show a little compassion about Bonnie. And Damon, again, just trying to hit where it hurts, make her mad, is like, oh, right. Should I send lasagna? I know they're going through a lot. Elena's like, you're just being mean now.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
She clearly is.
Yeah.
And Damon is like, I mean, you hate me. The earth is back on its axis.
Yep.
Of course. And Elena starts to walk away from Damon at this point, just done with this conversation. But she turns around and tells him that if he keeps pushing people away, he's going to end up alone. And then she leaves.
Yeah.
Which, I like that she just leaves without ever seeing Alaric or going to talk to Liz.
Which I feel like if it's a situation where, like, Damon's not even going to help get Alaric out, it's like, what's Elena going to do? She's got to go to the source, which is obviously Meredith.
Yeah, which we'll see her do later.
But yeah, it's such an interesting end to that scene with her saying that and then just leaving, and it just stays on him just standing there, and he's kind of squinting his eyes. Like, he looks like he's thinking. And I wonder if what ends up happening in this episode is sort of in reaction to this scene, like, or that line of, like, keep pushing people away and you're going to be alone. Because there's a lot of references in this episode about alone and the eternity of misery and the, like, vampires being, forever by yourself. So I'm kind of wondering if that face was sort of that line hitting him a little bit or something else. I don't know. But I thought it was interesting that she says that. He seems to really take that in. And then what he does later ends up happening.
No, I think he does, because he makes a comment later that kind of brings it full circle.
Exactly.
Like later on in the episode, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, but yeah, their problems generally are so weird right now.
Yeah,
the writers definitely were like, they're getting too close. They're getting too close.
Gotta break them up a little bit.
Yeah, pull them the opposite direction of like hating each other now.
Yeah,
because like we talked about this in like episode 10, 11, whatever. We were like, it is shocking how many scenes they have together, how much chemistry it is, how close they're getting.
Yeah.
Like, how can you do all of that and like not have them together? Like, they were getting to like
so
the
close.
edge of the cliff to where it was like they had to get yanked all the way back to this point in order to like sustain the show at all.
Yeah.
It's interesting to have like just gone through those episodes and be like, yeah, now we're here where they like can't even be in the same room without fighting. So speaking of can't be in the same room without fighting, actually, at the Salvatore house, Stefan's in his room with his diary, but instead of writing, he's like tapping his ring incessantly on the table, and he's twirling a pen very anxiously, and he's just sitting there with his eyes closed. Like, he just looks so frustrated, clearly bringing us back to the season 1 Stefan, where he was like the attic plot line of like, you know, the blood high of the cravings. It's definitely reminiscent of that. And Damon comes into the room and he notices this, and he kind of just leans up against the wall, and he says one of the most iconic lines ever to me is, "Dear diary, a chipmunk asked me my name today. I told him it was Joe. That lie will haunt me forever." So funny. And Stefan immediately just stops. He just stops like all and he just stares at him.
Yep.
And then he gets up and he puts his diary back on the shelf, and he asks Damon what he wants. Why is he there? And Damon says, "I was hoping we could hang, you know, a little brother bonding."
Of course.
I know we don't actually hang out. We team up, we join forces, we activate our Wonder Twin powers, and he like does a fist with his ring showing. So it's like, it's so funny. Like, there's lots of really good Damon quips in this episode. The writing overall, like we already talked about, is just very good.
Yes.
And when there's good writing in an episode, it also means like good quips, good funny bits for like Damon and Klaus especially, at least in my opinion.
For sure.
So already seeing that now. But anyway, Damon starts looking through Stefan's bookshelf that has all of his diaries on it. And Stefan, again, is like, "What are you doing?" And Damon tells him that he's looking for clues. Now that the originals have left town, they've got a whodunit on their hands. And, you know, he asks Stefan if he remembers when they came back in town for Zachariah's funeral, obviously the Salvatore we saw in the first scene. And Stefan is like, vaguely. And Damon says, if memory serves, he wasn't the first Founders Council member that was killed that year or even in that month. And Stefan, who has not yet returned to scientist Stefan mode, is like, what's the point? Why are we talking about this? And Damon's like, well, do you remember the year? And Stefan immediately says, 1912.
Yeah.
Immediately knows.
Yeah, not back in his scientist era, but in his historian era.
Forever.
Yeah.
He can't leave that.
Yeah, it comes up several more times. He's basically like the town's like history keeper.
He really is. Which I also love because it really reminds me of 103 when Stefan lists
like
off all the years in
Yeah.
history class. So it's like a nice connection to that because it's not a vampire thing. At this point we've seen like there's no proof that vampires just have like really good memory for numbers or something like that. It's just a Stefan thing.
No, I was thinking that. I was like, I feel like Stefan is like cursed to have an amazing memory and have to unfortunately remember every
all
trauma
of the bad things
and
he's done.
bad.
The freaking list with every name of everyone he's ever killed.
No, exactly. I'm like,
it is a curse.
Cursed
yeah,
with
he
just
is
like
cursed.
an amazing memory.
Yeah, he unfortunately is. Which maybe part of it too is the writing diaries and having those things written is he can revisit that kind of stuff. But anyway, Damon's like, so much for vaguely.
Yeah, more than vaguely.
Yeah, Stefan's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but it did happen on this exact date. But anyway, Damon then goes and grabs the 1912 diary off of the shelf and throws it to Stefan. And Damon says, 1912, or as I like to call it, last time Mystic Falls had a serial killer on its hands. Last time? You two have been active for the last 160 years. You guys are the longest running serial killers this town's ever seen.
I know.
Klaus, like the past month? Like what?
True.
I guess we could have said last human serial killer,
I guess
maybe.
human serial killer, probably. But even then,
it's it's up in the air. But I just thought that was so funny. I was like, says the two biggest serial killers in this town's history.
I know.
But okay.
I know. I thought that was good too.
But anyway, yes, Stefan opens up the diary and starts reading from it, which takes us directly into a 1912 flashback.
Yeah, Stefan in voiceover starts saying, it feels strange to be home again. I thought I would never return, and certainly not for a funeral. And then, at this point, we've visually faded to 1912 too. and we see a funeral is taking place outside the Salvatore crypt, and two women come up to Stefan, and they mention that it's, Zachariah Salvatore's funeral, and they introduce themselves as Mariana Lockwood and Samantha Gilbert. And Stefan says, Gilbert, as in Jonathan Gilbert. And Samantha Gilbert is like, oh, did you know him? And Stefan is like, yeah, we crossed paths. Which...
This old man.
Wait, I feel like he's, like, self-reporting. How could he have crossed paths with Jonathan Gilbert? Like, how long did he live? It's been 50 years.
He had the ring. So
but even then, I feel like people's lifespans were...
That's shorter.
I don't know. Jonathan Gilbert lived until, like, 90, I guess.
It just seemed crazy.
I don't know. I just feel like that was a little bit, like...
Yeah, suspicious.
It's a little suspicious, but obviously they don't really think anything of it. It could have happened, but very, very unlikely, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Which is why Stefan steers away from the topic pretty immediately
can't get onto Jonathan Gilbert, how he knew him when he was, like, probably 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then Stefan is like, no one seems to be willing to discuss the details of Zachariah's death. And Samantha tells him that Zachariah was murdered and he wasn't the first. And Mariana is, of course, telling her not to be a gossip.
Yeah.
But Samantha Gilbert is like, he should know. He's a founding family member just like us. And then she tells him to be careful, Mr. Salvatore. It's not a good time to be a founder in this town. And then the two girls leave. And Stefan looks at like a nearby tombstone and sees a crow.
We haven't seen this crow since Sexy Suds. We're getting all the references.
I miss this crow.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It has. Yeah. Also, this
5?
crow lived forever. I'm assuming it's the same one.
It's the same one.
But anyway, the crow flies off the tombstone, which is of course indicating Damon is there.
Damon's arrived.
Yes. And then we see him. And Damon asks...
little hat.
Yeah, his little hat. I laugh. And Damon asks Stefan if he's been eating the relatives again. And then Stefan says, then Damon says, it's been a long time, brother. And Stefan says it's been almost 50 years.
Yeah.
And he's surprised Damon came. And Damon is, snarky toward him. And he says, like, oh, I missed the funeral of, what do you call him? Uncle Zachariah? Because obviously it's not their
they
uncle.
can't, it's their nephew. And they obviously can't say that.
Obviously. And Stefan says, I see you're still mad at me. And Damon, again, is like being very like snarky, not happy. And he said, why would I be mad at you, Stefan? You made me become a vampire and now I walk the world alone, drinking other people's blood. Yeah,
because the context that's important here too is they said it's been 50 years. That means this is the first time they've seen each other since 1864 when they turned. Yeah. And I don't remember the exact last scene, but as we all remember, it was I promise you an eternity of misery. And Damon walked off and abandoned Stefan there. It ended very badly. And this is the first time they're seeing each other after that. So this is the worst of the worst. Yeah.
And, Damon says he's been walking the world alone. And Stefan asks Damon if he killed Zachariah. And Damon, again, cutting, is like, if I'm not mistaken, you were the one who killed our family members. Remember? May father rest in peace. As if he was a good father. He deserved it a little, but okay,
it was
Damon.
Mostly about the dig on Stefan there. History really does repeat itself with these
really
two,
does.
accusing each other and being suspicious of each other.
Yeah, they'll never get out of this little vicious cycle. But Stefan tells Damon that he's not like that anymore. And Damon tells him, congratulations, Stefan. But if you'll excuse me, I'd like to live out my eternal existence as far away from you as possible. And Damon goes to leave, and Stefan tells him to wait. So Damon stops, and Stefan is like, let's get a drink and catch up.
Yeah.
So Damon turns around, and Stefan adds, I've missed you, brother.
Yeah, and he's smiling at him. He really is happy to see him.
I know. It was cute.
I mean, it's been 50 years.
Yeah.
Everyone else you've probably known has died.
Yeah, I mean, if Jonathan Gilbert has already passed, I mean, who could be left?
50 years in, the early 1900s. There's no one left. And if they are, they're elderly, and you can't see them anymore anyway.
I was going to say, you also can't even stick around Mystic Falls in the first place. It's too suspicious.
A lonely existence. Stefan has Lexi, but Damon probably has nobody.
Has no one, yeah.
I fully understand that. I've missed you. And the smiling of, I know that you hate me, but I'm so happy to see you.
But I still need to see you, yeah. And Damon agrees. He says, sure, why not?
Yeah, because clearly it is kind of the same for him of being I'm so lonely.
Yeah, obviously. And also, they're brothers.
They're brothers. Yeah, they'll always forgive each other. But yeah, this was the perfect time in the plot to revisit this storyline of Stefan and Damon when they hated each other. Because they're kind of back at a point where they sort of hate each other in present day.
Yeah.
Not fully, obviously. Not like they did then. But it's an interesting contrast to see this present Stefan and Damon versus this version of Stefan and Damon. Yeah, and then also the fact of, like, clearly, like, connecting that plot line and the loneliness that it's obvious they're feeling in 1912 and how that might reflect on, like, the current time. I think it's so interesting.
Yeah, I don't think it also sets up, like, you know, they're going to choose to try to do things differently this time.
Exactly.
They're not going to not speak to each other for 50 years again.
Exactly, yeah. Also, just have to say, the founding family members always repeating names is crazy. Zachariah, because they killed Zach Salvatore in the first season. So it kind of feels like a callback to that, too. But it was like, everybody's got to name everybody the same name.
I know. I feel like there are others, too, that I'm just
There's definitely a lot.
Yeah. I mean, John Gilbert, obviously. John and John.
Too. So... yeah, it's just so funny that they always have to repeat names.
Know.
We can't buy any baby books. We can't have any original, like... I don't know. I'm trying to think of a funny name that you just pop in there with, like, a Brittany. Like, can't do it.
Yeah, no. Yeah, they always have the same names and the same jobs.
Yes, and the same jobs. Everything's inherited. I don't know why, but that's how it works in Mystic Falls.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the modern day Salvatore house. Damon is saying to Stefan, what do you say, brother? You want to go get drunk?
Of course.
You know, he's trying to get him out of the house. Clearly, Stefan is, as will be said later, jonesing.
Yeah.
So he's trying to kind of appeal to him, and Stefan's like, "Oh, I get it. You're bored. Your best friend's in jail, and you don't have anything better to do with yourself." And Damon's like, "Well, there's that, and and I was hoping you would help me solve a murder." Got to appeal to scientist Stefan, of course.
Of course.
And Damon takes the journal back from Stefan, the 1912 one, and just, like, walks out of the room. Again, this episode, so season 1 vibes. This scene especially, where I was just like, something about the brothers being tense, but trying to get along is so season 1, where it was like they had to work together, but they couldn't stand each other.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like we're at that point in this season, too.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Everything. And the diaries and the journals being a key.
Yeah,
that was
those
so
coming back. The
season 1.
Crow.
The Crow. There's so much season 1 vibes.
There are. No, there really are. Also, it's fall again.
Yeah.
So it's
fall
inherently in that way.
So it's been a year. We're recycling the vibes, but
yeah.
I really like it.
I do too. Yeah. Something I don't like, this little duo.
Yeah, the weirdest.
Yeah, the most random. Carol and Rebekah are sitting at a table together talking. And Rebekah is saying, "Thank you for meeting with me, Mayor. I figured as head of the Preservation Society, you'd be a good person to ask about the oldest trees in the community," which
I have so much to say. We both are just in silence, shaking our hands, like, what is going on?
Like, because already I have so much to say.
Rebekah is an ancient vampire, one of the oldest in the world. Actually, the oldest, because she was the first one turned into a vampire from family. She can compel people. This was the best way to figure out what she needed was a girls' lunch with Carol. Like, that is insane to me. And also, number 2, the subtlety gone. Which I'll be saying every single scene with Rebekah in it this episode.
Oh
because
my God.
she's constantly just like, so do you know anything about those old trees?
Yeah.
Like,
oh, the white oak trees?
Yeah. Oh, she's so funny for this.
I know. I'm like, this is so obvious. And I mean, Damon he's pretty onto her, but would be way more onto her if he wasn't, doing his own little murder investigation. But yeah, she's so transparent.
Yeah. It's just crazy. Also, like, Carol, I don't know, get her off her vervain or tea or whatever however she's ingesting it and compel her. Like, I feel like and don't meet in the grill. Like, it's just crazy that there's no attempt at subtlety in trying to find the literal last weapon that could kill her and her siblings.
None at all.
But whatever, I guess.
Yeah, sure. But anyway, Carol tells her that a long line of Lockwood women used to keep the records.
Yeah.
Which... records of all of these trees.
I just recorded them down. I don't know.
Mean, like, tree by school.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sure it's a thing. Like, it must be, but
clearly that's not our jobs. If any of you somehow work in, like, city planning or something, let us know.
I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious how it works. But anyway, And Carol's like, you know, back before any of them had actual jobs or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
They had to do
the
this.
shade.
Like,
she's like, I'm mayor. I have to put in work.
Yeah,
so.
she was like, I have a real job, mayor.
That I inherited from my husband when he died for some reason, because that's how it works in this town.
Before that, I ostensibly also had no job.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
Yeah, no reason to shade.
Carol's wild.
She is.
There's a funny scene of her in the next episode that I was watching earlier.
No.
Later, in the next episode. But anyway, Rebekah is asking Carol about the like records of a specific tree that she's looking for, and Carol is like, she doesn't really go into detail, but Carol is like, whatever the tree was, it was probably cut down. Trees built this town.
Yeah.
And at this point, Stefan and Damon enter the grill and head toward the bar. And Damon kind of says to Stefan, she devil at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Obviously referring to Rebekah. And Damon and Rebekah kind of like lock eyes. And
Yeah, they have
like
a little stare down.
They have a little stare
Damon does
down.
like a cutesy little wave at her.
Yeah.
So funny.
And eventually Rebekah turns back towards the conversation and is like, do you happen to know who kept the milling ledgers during that period? And Carol tells her that back then, all the logging mills were owned by the Salvatores.
Of course they were. You can see it on her face, too, that she's like, of course that's the person I have to now go to. The one family that can't be compelled or otherwise, like, tricked into giving me stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, Rebekah she'll start working on this momentarily.
Next episode, yeah. Right in this episode,
she'll get to it. But right now we go back to Damon and Stefan, who are now at the bar, and Damon is asking Stefan, what does a medical examiner, Bill Forbes, and Alaric Saltzman have in common? And Stefan is like tapping his ring on the counter.
Listening.
Not listening at all. And Damon tells him to knock it off. And Stefan pours himself a drink. Of course, they're always just taking drinks themselves from the bar. And
yeah, the bottle service there, apparently.
Yes. Yeah, at the Mystic Grill.
Yeah.
At like 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And Damon is like, you know, quitting blood cold turkey after a Ripper binge might not be the best approach. Every time you play that all or nothing game, you eventually leave a trail of bodies. So I'm thinking now is a good time to pay our old friend Moderation a visit.
Sass.
Stefan is obviously not wanting to talk about that. So he's like, they were all on the Founders Council, Damon. That's what they all have in common. Mm-hmm. And Damon says, but why them? Brian Walters and Alaric weren't even from founding families. I mean, if you're gonna slaughter council members, go A-list. At least in 1912, they killed a Salvatore. Mm-hmm. And at this point, Rebekah comes up behind them and says, now which Salvatore would that be? Starting to try to get her information.
Yeah. But I love this plan of Damon's plan of sort of appealing to scientist Stefan and being like, help me work this one out, brother. Mm-hmm.
Even though he pretty much has all the answers now.
He's doing like the kindergarten thing where it's just like, now you tell me what I already know.
Yes.
And then we'll work our way there. But it's great as a brotherly distraction. It's nice. But also, is the show Gossip Girl all of a sudden? Stefan's fully drinking at the bar. He's supposed to be 17. I was like, okay.
Well, that's what I was thinking a couple episodes ago when Klaus asked Caroline if she wants to drink.
Dangerously. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Dangerous Liaisons too.
It's Gossip Girl world. Everyone can drink all the time. And it doesn't matter
if they're like 17.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving along. Where there is law and rules, of course. We see Alaric is still in the jail cell trying to get himself free. He's telling Liz, like, there is no motive. Clearly, there's no reason why he would be doing this. But Liz points out that both Brian Walters and Bill Forbes had gotten into fights with Meredith right before they died. And Alaric had witnessed, like, Brian fighting with Meredith that night at the auction. And he was also told by her that Bill had threatened to report her to the medical board for using vampire blood. So, like, that's a motive if he likes her or wants to date her or whatever. Chivalry, which he, like, calls out. He's like, what? I don't even know her. But they're like, it is a motive. It is a motive.
It definitely is.
But anyway, so Alaric is like, no, like, she didn't tell me about Bill. But Liz has the receipts. She pulls out the receipts of being like, yeah, you did. We pulled your phone records and you had a 2 a.m. call with her that lasted for over an hour. And Alaric, like, immediately looks so panicked. He, like, sits down on the bed in his cell and he just looks so confused and is, like, clearly realizing how bad this situation is. And he's like, I don't remember calling her. I had been drinking that night. I don't remember the conversation. And Liz is like, well, do you have an alibi for the night that Brian Walters was killed? And Alaric was like, of course I was at the bridge fundraiser that night until midnight. Like, you even saw me there. But Liz reveals that the time of death for Brian Walters was between 1 and 3 a.m., a.k.a. after he had left the fundraiser. And Alaric, again, looks very panicked and is, like, starting to mumble and stutter, like, through his, like, dialogue here where it's like, well, I must have been home sleeping.
Yeah.
I'm sure of it.
Sounding not sure.
Yeah, sounding very doubtful himself now. And then it, like, cuts to Liz, who just looks pretty, like, concerned and also suspicious.
Oh, she's like, it's over. He's going to jail.
Yeah, because it's like she clearly wants to help him. Like, she's friends with him, too. But, like, every single thing of this is stacked up against him. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's not looking good. Yeah, it doesn't matter if he didn't do it at this point. Like, all evidence says he did.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to that, but
yeah. Also not looking good. We have Rebekah clearly, like, so obviously, like we were alluding to before, trying to get info. But right now she's just asking about the murder in 1912. She says, so Zachariah Salvatore was your nephew. And Damon tells her that Giuseppe knocked up one of the maids during the Civil War and had a son. But as far as everyone else knew, he and Stefan were dead. So the family name had to go somewhere.
I love that lore drop. I love when we get answers like that. This is what we need for all the modern families of, like, how is anyone related?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. So then Rebekah asks about the logging mills.
Yeah, so unsubtly. She's like, so
at all.
Yeah, your family logging mills? Yeah. Tell me all about it.
Ridiculous. And then Damon is like, you're full of a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Clearly suspicious, but he's got
and
bigger
Stefan gives her
about.
Stefan, who's, like, zoned out this whole episode, even, like, kind of gives her a suspicious look. Like, huh?
Yeah. Why are
does
you
she
asking
about
about
logging
that?
Mills?
Yeah. And Rebekah's like, oh, I'm just researching the town history. I did grow up here after all.
Yeah.
Sure. And Damon is like, of course, you know, you don't have to disguise your true motive, Blondie Bex. If you want more sex, just ask for it.
He's so funny.
He's wild.
I love Blondie Bex, though. That's a great nickname.
I like that nickname. And Rebekah tells Damon that there's not enough liquor in the world for that. So she grabs the bottle and she pours herself a drink. And Damon's like, oh, come on. It was too good for you to be this hostile. Which at this point, Stefan is over this.
Because Stefan's sitting in the middle of them.
He's in between them for some reason.
Yeah.
And he, like, grabs his glass and the bottle and moves from between them over to Damon's other side.
Yeah.
Like, he's so over it. And Damon is like, you'll have to excuse my little brother. He's jonesing for some O positive. And Stefan tries to say he's not jonesing. And Rebekah moves into the seat that Stefan just left, right next to Damon, and asks if they ever caught the killer in 1912. And Damon says, nope, they wrote it all off on vampires. And Rebekah says, maybe it was a vampire. And Stefan is like, yeah, maybe it was, Damon. Like,
yeah, aka Damon, you did it.
Yeah, trying to be like, you could have done it. And Damon says, don't think for a second you didn't cross my mind too, little brother. But these murders weren't your style then anyway, were they? Because their heads were still intact.
Yeah. and they had blood in their system.
And they had blood. They were just stabbed, not like completely drained of blood. And Damon is like, plus there were no other vampires circulating then. So if it wasn't either of them, it wasn't a vampire.
Yeah.
But Stefan says there was another vampire, actually. Remember Sage? And Damon's like, oh, right, Sage. Speaking of great sex, and then he takes a swig from a bottle, which is like the perfect transition.
Yeah,
where he's also downing a bottle in 1912.
Yeah,
but
so funny.
Oh my god,
the way he says that line, but also most lines in this episode are so sensual. Yeah, that's right. Sage, like he's really like he's feeling something.
He was doing a lot in this episode.
So funny, except when he's talking to Elena. That was the only scene where I feel like he wasn't being like overtly like I don't know. But it's so funny. But anyway, into 1912 from there, of course. Damon's taking a drink. And Stefan, like, pulls the bottle away from him saying, you've had enough.
Yep.
And he then takes the bottle and drinks from it. And Damon says, hit a man when he's down. And then we see the two head out to a tent. There's, like, I don't know. It's kind of like a carnival-y, festival-y type thing set up. And inside the tent they're going to, you see a woman, presumably Sage, who is beating a man in a boxing match. She, like, literally, like,
uppercut.
Yeah, and he literally knocks out, falls face first on the floor. And she's like asking, who's next? $100 to any man who can beat me. And she notices Damon in the crowd and like makes eyes at him and gives him a little wink. And Stefan and Damon are still talking. Stefan comes up to him and says that he can teach Damon how to just survive without drinking human blood. And Damon's like, you do not get to lecture me on how to live my life. And not anymore. And Damon walks away from him and is like walking through the crowd. And Sage has left the stage and she walks right up to Damon. And she asks Damon his name and he's just like, not interested. I was like, this is so current Damon too. Yeah. Like when Andy first tried to hit on him in the bar, he was like, no, thank you.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, that's basically what he's doing to Sage. He's like, nope, I'm taken.
Yep.
And Sage is like, you look like a gambling man. And he's like, you've got me wrong then. But Sage pulls out a $100 bill from her top and she like shows it to Damon and then she puts it in the front of his pants and she just says, well, that's too bad. And she just walks away. So, AKA Sage is wild.
She is wild.
Is what picks up in the next scene, like back in the modern day at the grill. Rebekah's like, I knew a Sage once. Trashy little thing. She's like, slut.
Yeah, basically.
So funny. And Damon's like, you really think like Sage could have been the one killing off the founders back then? And Stefan says like the town questioned every grown man in Mystic Falls about these murders. It probably didn't occur to them that a woman could have ever done this. Mm-hmm. So they're starting to piece some stuff together, getting some memories up. But
they're getting warmer.
They're following a path here.
Yeah. I like their logic. They're getting there.
And I like this idea, and it'll come up more, so we don't need to get into it now necessarily, but there's a lot of these things, too, about, like, women in this episode. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. So we'll come back to that.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. Also, trying to get to the bottom of things, Elena is in the Mystic Falls Hospital parking lot, waiting by her car outside, and when she sees Meredith pull up, park, and get out of her car, and then Elena goes and approaches her, and they start walking towards the hospital, and Meredith, like, without really even looking at Elena, because Elena's kind of behind her, she's like, I'm doing surgery. Whatever case you're going to make against Alaric, make it quick. And Elena is like, I don't have to make a case. He just didn't do anything. And Meredith is like, but how do you know? Sure, you live with him, and he takes care of you, but do you really know anything about him at all? And Elena just says, I know enough. Mm-hmm. And Meredith stops walking at this point and turns around to face Elena and is like, let me tell you what I know. He was arrested for fighting 4 times before the age of 21. And when he was at Duke, his future wife, Isabel, filed a restraining order against him twice. But then she married him in the end, so I guess that says more about her. Which,
so funny.
Yeah, so wild that they made that Isabel and Alaric's backstory. But also, I hate that they have to give this to Alaric. Like,
well,
I don't know.
I've always wondered about this because they mention the restraining order thing in season 1. They mention it at the Bachelor auction thing when there's the sort of weird...
Oh, yeah.
Isabel, did Alaric kill her? Like, there's that little moment of sort of suspicion. And they mention in that episode that she had a restraining order against him, or that there had been some problems. But, like, even after this point, it is never elaborated on.
Yeah.
We don't know. I guess it really does just chalk up to the fact that Isabel is a crazy lady.
I mean, she really is. So,
So maybe just as a human, she was also crazy. And she was just like, I'm going to take out a restraining order on this guy just to make him want me more.
I could see it from Isabel. Yeah, who knows? But I don't know. I just feel like this whole calling Alaric's character into question, I'm like...
It's unfortunate because none of those things ever get answered. That's kind of what the problem
is. They do kind of say, like, I think in the next episode, they do kind of say, like, he was defending people.
That's what I was thinking. But we've seen so many times how he gets involved in, like, fights because he's standing up for somebody. But it's just kind of weird to be like, you're getting, like, in trouble, like you're getting arrested for fighting people so many times.
Yeah,
like, how many people are you defending? He's got like a scanner. He's like going
to the police scanner at home,
and he's going to find people to protect. I don't know.
The Batman, I guess.
How many times have any of you ever been somewhere where you're like, I've got to get involved in this fist fight to protect somebody?
I have to.
4 times.
I guess.
Really
I don't know.
Crazy.
It's just wild.
So I agree. It's like a weird backstory to give without truly justifying.
Yeah, without real justification.
We'll talk about it in the next one.
Yeah. And Elena is like, you're making all of this up. Obviously doesn't believe any of it. And Meredith is like, am I? How would you know? you took pity on a borderline alcoholic vampire hunter.
Borderline is generous, first of all.
Say, she's down bad if she thinks it's only borderline.
Yeah.
And she says, you never even thought to look any deeper. And Elena says, how could you do this to him? He didn't kill anyone and you know it. And Meredith says, you date vampires, Elena. It should not come as a shock to learn that your guardian is a murderer. And it just walks away.
That is so harsh.
I know. Meredith is, I don't know. She's like pulling no punches with Elena right now.
No, and Elena's just left standing there like shocked and confused. Just like,
yeah,
what just happened? Like, what was that?
Yeah, Elena thought she was confronting Meredith, but Meredith really confronted her.
She was. And some of it's kind of fair of being like,
yeah.
Elena is 18 and she lost her parents, she lost her aunt, and Alaric came in. Like, Elena didn't really like look into that or think about it at all. But also, like, he has so proven himself time and time again, which is why she's defending him so hard right now.
Yes.
But anyway, before we get back to that plot line, we have to check in back at the girl where Rebekah is drinking the last of the whiskey, and she's like, tell me more about your relatives. Like, she's like that girl who's like, got a crush on a guy but has nothing in common with him, and she's just like, keep talking.
I just want you to tell me something.
But she's actually looking for something here, which is why she ends, after that, she says, I heard they tore down half the woods to build this town. Just keep like, why are you obsessed with trees and wood mills, and like, why do you want to know so much about that? I wonder. Rebekah, as a creature who can only be killed by wood,
a certain type of wood. Yeah.
Interesting. Way too obvious. Again, this we've already said. But anyway, the bartender gives them a new bottle of whiskey, and Rebekah grabs it, or like she goes to grab it, but Damon grabs it first before she can, and he's like, easy there, Lushy Pants. I don't know what kind of name Lushy Pants is, but that's what he calls her. He says, it's been a hoot and a half, which is so Catherine coded also.
Yeah, it really is.
He definitely got it from her.
That's so true.
But he says, it's been a hoot and a half, but it's boys' night, and you weren't invited. And then he just walks away with the bottle. He's basically like, scram, chick. Like, get out of here.
He does say scram later, and it really gets me.
Actually. That's the vibe he's giving this episode, is scram.
It really is.
But anyway, Stefan is just giving like stone-faced,
he's
like
giving
body.
Nothing.
It's kind of like he was at the start of the season, actually, like with Klaus, but now it's just with Damon at this point, and he's feeling nothing. He just like grabs the two glasses that are on the table, and he kind of just gives like a look to Rebekah, like raises his eyebrows, kind of like, sorry, bye.
Yeah, bye. I don't want to talk to you either, really.
Yeah, it sucks for you, but he just wanders off and follows Damon, and Rebekah's kind of left sitting there. She's obviously not going to give up that easy, as we'll see later. But
and neither will Elena.
Of course.
We see now at Meredith's apartment, Matt is picking the lock of Meredith's door, and he's with Elena, and they enter the apartment after Matt gets it open. And Matt is like, all that breaking and entering adds to the list of life favors you owe me.
Yeah.
But also, I have to say, Matt was like mewing when he opened the door. And I was like,
of course
no.
He loves to mew.
He loves to mew. But anyway, he was proud of himself. He gets to do it. And Elena is like, look, I don't know how much longer Meredith is going to be in surgery, so let's just see what we can find. And they start looking through all of her stuff, going through various things. And Matt is like, don't you think the police already combed through this place? She handed over everything she had. And Elena says they're looking for the evidence that Meredith didn't hand over.
Yeah.
Obviously. Duh, Matt.
Yeah,
Duh. And Matt asks Elena if she's sure it's Meredith that they should even be investigating. And Elena tells Matt that she knows Alaric and he's innocent, and that, like, Meredith is a founding family member, which means, and like Elena is like putting something together in her head.
She's talking in pieces.
And she looks over at a closet door, and she's like, this is when she says, which means, and she starts to go toward the closet, and she opens the door, turns on the light, and starts looking through the closet. And Matt walks over to her, and Elena finally finds like a hidden panel at the back of the closet, like in the lake house.
Yeah.
And Elena says, skeletons in the closet, just like a true founder. Yeah. Again, I love that all of the founders, for whatever reason, had this in common.
I know. I'll know I've made it when I've got a secret hiding, like hiding spot in my closet.
Spot in the closet.
I live in New York. I barely got a closet currently.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, how are you going to pull that off? I don't know, but.
Someday.
Yeah, someday we'll have one. But then Matt like joins the closet with her, and he like pulls the panel out of the wall, and he takes out a cardboard box, and the two of them start going through whatever is in the box, and there's like folders inside, and Elena starts reading off the names. One says Brian Walters, the next says Bill Forbes, and then Matt takes out one of the folders and shows it to Elena and reads what it says, which is Alaric Saltzman.
Yep. Fishy,
Interesting.
They found
why
stuff.
would she have this, and why would it be hidden?
Yep, exactly. I just love that Elena called Matt to do this. It's
I know.
Funny. Like, I know Caroline and Bonnie are busy, and Damon and Stefan is a problem. But, like, I like to think she chose Matt specifically.
No, I do too. And I was actually thinking, I really feel like they've done a lot to bring Matt and Elena back from their weird, like Matt's weird jealousy plot.
Yeah.
And to really build out their friendship that makes the payoff in the finale of this season
100%
so good.
I think that's what they're doing. They've been giving us a lot of Matt and Elena recently, and it is because they need it. They
need it to be.
It supports 322. Like, that episode doesn't work if those two don't have that, like, this deep foundation. Of a bond.
Yeah.
So yes, so that's what they're doing there for sure. We'll check back in on what they've found later. Mm-hmm. Of course, back to the girl. Back to one of the most iconic scenes to me on TikTok. I see it all the time on my For You page. Damon is playing darts now. Stefan's just like sitting there hanging out. Damon hits a bullseye, of course, and he's like thinking out loud, thinking, now that they're caught up, they're on the same wavelength here. He's kind of talking through where they're at of like, so let's just say it was Sage who was killing everyone in 1912. Who the hell does that mean is doing it now? Yeah. It's not that psycho Dr. Fell. She's a woman. There's no way that she could stab 3 grown men. And he goes to throw another dart, but Rebekah appears and catches it right before it hits the board. And Rebekah says the iconic, "That's a bit sexist. A woman could easily kill a man with the right motivation." I always see girls lip like, and then it goes into like a cool song. It's like so fun. We'll have to figure out a way to use the sound. Yes. But yes, it's become iconic. And Stefan, of course, who's just like hanging out there, is like, "Great, she's back." Yeah. He's just like, "Oh, it was bad enough putting up with Damon. Yeah. Now Rebekah's here too." And Rebekah's like, "What's wrong with him? Why is he so grumpy?" Mm-hmm. And Damon explains that Stefan is on a master cleanse right now, and he's trying to be a better man. And Rebekah says, like, he was a lot more fun in the 20s. Mm-hmm. I love how fast Rebekah got over Stefan. Like, she was so dramatic at the start of the season, obviously, because she came out of the box and he didn't love her anymore. And now it's just like, giving up on that, moving on. Done. And so Damon kind of like, bumps Rebekah with his elbow, and he's telling her, like, don't rile him up. And he takes a drink and says that Stefan is testy when he's being all self-righteous. And Stefan's like, "I'm not being self-righteous, Damon. I'm just not interested in slaughtering innocent human beings anymore." And Damon's like, "Fair enough, my mistake." And then he takes out Stefan's journal that he brought from earlier and says that Stefan used to be self-righteous. And Damon starts reading from the journal. "Dear diary, Damon has lost his way. Though I have pulled my own life together, he continues to waste his." Rebekah grabs the journal from Damon, is like, "Ouch." Rebekah just wants in on the fun at this point. She forgot what she was here for. I know. And she starts reading from the journal too. And she's like, "His bitterness consumes him. He's nothing but blackness and vile." And she's like, "Ooh, judgy." And she closes the journal and like wraps it back up and gives it to Stefan. Mm-hmm. Stefan is so funny for writing that in his journal, first of all. That's like the first thing that needs to be said about that, is being like, "I have fixed myself. If only Damon would let me fix him too." Like,
also, I know that Stefan has been alive for 150 years, so there is truly like a full library of these journals. Yeah. But I love that so many of them get read as if they're not like his personal thoughts.
Yeah, and I guess it's funny when it's something you wrote 100 years ago, because you're so
it's a little different.
Exactly. And I will say, I do think that is different, because like I was reading my personal journal recently, and the stuff that I wrote like 9 years ago, I would read to anybody. I'm like, I'm not that person anymore.
True. That's true.
I'm not her anymore. It's fine. Yeah. But the stuff I wrote a year ago, no. That's private. That's true. So I do think like I can only imagine like how different something you wrote 100 years ago. Like Stefan's probably like, I don't know that guy anymore.
Yeah, clearly. Stefan's probably like, I was funny for that.
Yeah, because Stefan clearly is like, I don't have my life together anymore. So, yeah, true. Learned a lot since then. Yeah. I was only 60 years old at the time, guys. Like, that's probably what he's thinking.
I was just a boy.
Yeah. Yeah, like grown men currently. Yeah. Like, he's only 60 years old. But anyway, Stefan obviously is not enjoying this at all. And he sarcastically says that this is fun. Mm-hmm. And Rebekah says, if I'm being honest, you didn't sound like much fun either, Damon. And Damon takes the journal and is like, yeah, I wasn't. The woman I was in love with was stuck in a tomb and she wasn't getting out for another 100 years. I wasn't having any fun at all. Cut to a flashback of him having no fun.
Yeah, we see Sage really changed things for Damon. She made him the Damon we knew and loved in season 1.
Well, kind of hated for these aspects, but yes.
But Damon is outside of that tent at the carnival back in 1912, and he's feeding on a woman, and he sort of like throws her lifeless body to the ground, just like done with her. And we see Sage is watching him from behind, and she approaches him and is like, how sad. You're doing it all wrong. Bad vampire. And Damon pulls out a handkerchief and wipes his face. It's like, I was hungry. Now I'm not. My quality of form is purely subjective. He's a very different Damon in this era, apparently. And Sage tells Damon, a woman isn't just for food. She's for pleasure. And Damon says, I do not need a woman for pleasure. I am spoken for.
By Catherine, who's
been in the tomb for 50 years.
But isn't actually, she's just like laughing at him, basically.
Yeah, she's just following Stefan around. God knows where. And Damon starts to walk away, but Sage grabs his arm and stops him and says, we're all spoken for in some way. But what is being a vampire if not for relishing in the pleasure of it? And she starts to walk back to the tent where she motions to Damon like, come on, let me show you. And back in the tent, 2 men are boxing each other now, and Damon walks over to Sage, and Sage says to Damon, look at the women. They're beautiful, aren't they? And they're showing women in the crowd. But Sage says, not them. They're too hungry for attention. You want the ones who button themselves up. Watch them. They can't tear their eyes away. And Sage is like running her finger down Damon's jaw. And she said, those are the women who secretly crave seduction. They'll put up a good fight, but the game isn't winning them over, making them beg for it.
Yeah, because it's like, and they're showing like the women in the crowd where it's like first it's the women in the front row who are like really rowdy and like whatever, but then it ends up being the ones who are like she says like very buttoned up, like the ones who are pretending they're not watching. They're like, they're still there, they're still watching. Even though they're the proper ladies who act like they would never be at this sort of thing. That's who she's like kind of telling him to go for.
Yeah. And Damon says, what if they don't? Like, what if they don't beg for it? And Sage says, you're a vampire. You take it.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. I was going to say, I'll wrap the scene up, and I have more to say there. Yeah. And then they look at a young woman on the other side of the room, and Sage is like, her. Yep. And Damon moves toward the woman and looks back at Sage, and she, like, kind of nods to him and then looks away. And we see, he's gonna go feed on her.
Yeah. Oh, Sage.
I feel like Sage suffers 2 problems. Like, she has a lot of potential. Like, I do think like female fighter back in the 1900s.
She could have been so cool.
She could have been so cool, but I think 2 problems. One, she suffers in this scene. They wrote her like just as like a pick-me, basically. Like this weird like, I don't know, not like anti other women, but like. I don't know. I feel like and it's probably a consequence of the time in a lot of ways. Yeah. But she's just not really well written. Like, she's very, like, male gaze written.
Well, and it's kind of weird because I almost wonder if that was an intentional decision because of the fact we found out soon that, in the next scene, actually, that Sage is 900 years old plus. Like, she knew Finn when he was out of the box, which was 900 years ago. Yeah. So it almost could be a factor there where it's supposed to be speaking to the fact that like she's got these really weird old like ideals way older than 1900s. True. And I don't necessarily like I get what you're saying too, so I don't necessarily think of it as that, but I'm like, I don't know, maybe that's what they were going for. I'm not sure. She doesn't seem modern to me, really. No, she doesn't really feel modern, but it's weird. Like how almost every other vampire like modernizes. Yeah. Except like, maybe like Finn, but he spends 900 years in a box. So it's like, I don't know. I think you could make an argument. The originals are the only ones with some, and in the originals, there's a lot who are that sort of old. And I will say, I feel like the ones who are like 600 plus do feel very different. They do feel like older in that way that maybe Sage does. we'll have to compare more in the next episode when we see like the modern Sage.
Yeah, we'll see more of her.
But yes, I agree that like she does have this weird sort of pick me energy where it's like, why is she quite literally teaching Damon how to like abuse women?
It's weird. Yeah.
And she also like she's like went after him. She pursued him.
She pursued him.
Out
it's weird.
And not even to Damon said he hooked up with her, but like we don't even ever like see that in the 1912 stuff. No. Like all we see is she just wants to teach him how to do this. Like it's so weird.
It's weird. Yeah, I don't know. She's a weird character. And the other thing I was going to say, which we haven't really gotten to yet, but the other thing that ruins her is just her association with Finn.
Yeah,
that it like immediately is like she does not work for me. But yeah.
And I think that's where I'm like, she was never going to be cool anyway.
That's true. That's true.
Because a cool girl is not getting obsessed with a man like Finn for 900 years.
I know. And that's the other I mean, I had so much more on this that I was going to add later when they even bring up Finn. But it almost feels like they should have been two separate characters. Like the Finn love interest and then this girl in the 1912s who's like the fighter.
That's true. Yeah, they do feel
I don't know. It feels like they were like, it's too much to cast two people. Let's just make them one.
Yeah, they are kind of two different characters in a way. Two different purposes.
We can get into that more.
There's a lot to say about Sage in the next one.
So.
But yeah, her advice here is also just interesting and weird. And I kind of wonder too, I was like, I guess Damon sort of, this like makes him what he becomes like when we see him in season 1, but also in a way he doesn't, because he goes after Caroline in the first season, who is this like desperate for attention type.
True.
So I was like, it almost like seems like he flip-flopped her advice over the however many hundred years or so. I don't know. That was just one of those things that stood out to me where I was like, this is such a weird scene.
I know.
I don't know why they included this.
I don't really like it.
I don't either.
Yeah. It felt almost like it was supposed to speak more to like choosing Elena over Catherine. Like,
oh, interesting. I didn't even think about it.
Because she's more of like the buttoned up, like won't look away. But even then, it doesn't really fit.
Yeah, because even then, it's about like abusing women, really. So it's like, overall, just don't like this.
I just don't really love it. Yeah.
But
anyway,
most other things in this episode are good, so we'll return to that.
Yeah. That's my only qualm. But anyway,
back to the modern Mystic Grill, where they're like telling this story. Rebekah hears all of this and is like, "Sounds like Sage, all right." AKA, yeah, that's that hoe. I remember. Like,
so that's that hussy.
Yeah, Rebekah. Which again, that Rebekah is like, this bitch sucks. That tells you everything you need to know.
I was going to say, And, well, I mean, real ones know that if Rebekah hates this girl, like, you've seen originals and everything, you know.
Yeah, she sucks.
She sucks. But then, even if you've only seen Vampire Diaries, you're like, if Rebekah hates her, she must be even worse. She must be terrible.
I don't know. The only person Rebekah hates right now is, like, Elena. Well, so you're like, she could be great. Who knows?
I guess that's true.
But anyway, love that Rebekah also was like, a girl named Sage who sounds like the worst. That's the same one I knew. It's the same one. And Damon asks, he's like, how did you know Sage? And Rebekah says that she was obsessed with my brother Finn over 900 years ago. And Damon's like, creepy suicidal guy?
Yeah, what?
Yeah, the funniest connection, but we'll get into it later. Stefan is still just zoning out. He wants nothing to do with any of this. He doesn't care. He's tapping the ring again. And Damon again calls him out, like, stop it. Stop doing that. Which I was like, really relate to. I'm always like calling people out for picking, tapping, always noticing that kind of stuff. And Stefan immediately just gets up. Like, he obviously can't deal with any of this. He can't focus. He just needs to get out of there. And he says, like, I need to leave. He puts on his jacket. And Damon's like, sure. Just first admit that you're jonesing. Stefan is like, no, I won't admit it. I don't know why these two always have to bicker about silly things like that.
I know.
It's so sibling coded. But anyway, Stefan's like, no. And so Damon rushes at him and, like, grabs him and is like, admit it. And Stefan then, like, finally breaks his, like, facade and is, like, showing his aggression. And he grabs Damon back and he says, okay, fine, I'm freaking out. I'm ready to eat the entire waitstaff. Why do you need to hear me say it? And Damon's like, because I'm feeling self-righteous too. And they, like, let each other go. And it's just like, okay, he just wanted him to admit that he was like really having a hard time, which I guess, admitting your problem is the first step to fixing it or something. Maybe that's the goal here.
Yeah,
but they're not really going to try to fix it. We'll come back to that. We got to go to somebody else who's getting themselves into a problem here.
Yeah, thinking they're fixing one, but not really.
But creating another.
Yeah. Elena and Matt are still looking through Meredith's apartment, and they are looking through the folder on Alaric. And Elena points out that Meredith has a ton of information on Alaric, like medical records, old court documents, all this stuff. And then Matt pulls out a journal from the box and is like, what is this? And Elena takes it and opens it up, and she tells him, it's an old Gilbert journal. And Matt is like, why is one of your old family journals in her closet? And Elena doesn't really get to answer before Matt is like, he finds something he's still looking through. And he's like, wait, didn't you say the medical examiner's time of death was between 1 and 3 a.m.? And Elena is like, yeah, why? And Matt tells her that the county coroner's office says that that's wrong. And then he hands her the paper that he's looking at, which obviously shows like the time. And all of a sudden they hear footsteps.
Yeah, clearly she's coming home.
Meredith is coming home. Surgery is over. And they immediately start putting the stuff back in the box and hide in the closet. And, they like turn off the light and everything.
Yeah.
And Meredith comes in the apartment and puts her like cup of coffee and keys down. And then Matt looks like he's about to say something. Why he would say something, I don't know. But Elena like puts her finger to his mouth. And Meredith comes out of her room and like grabs her stuff. She's like, she changes like her jacket and stuff. Yeah. She's probably going to go back out. And Elena and Matt then hear her open and close the front door. So they turn the light back on, like relieved, like, oh, thank God. She just came in for a quick trip.
Yeah.
And then they open the door to leave. And Meredith is standing right there. Of course.
They barely waited.
I know. They waited like 1 second.
Yeah. They were like, she's out the front door.
Whew, thank God. Like,
how many times have you walked out?
Her keys?
That's what I was going to say. How many times have you walked out the front door and been like, oh, I forgot my phone. Turn around.
Easily, like every day. Yeah. I'm the most forgetful.
It's a 50-50 chance. So.
It really is. Yeah.
They were crazy for that. Being like, she's gone. We're free.
She's gone.
Also, why not take the boxes home or something?
True.
Why
not find it and go?
Yeah, they should have found it and gone, snuck back another time to return it. Like, there were so many better ways to do this. Instead, it was just like, if we get caught, we get caught.
Yeah. Whatever.
That was the vibe.
Yeah, it's not like we're breaking and entering.
We've dealt with Klaus. She's not going to do anything.
True. What can Meredith do? Shoot us? Oh, she might. Did shoot someone.
She will heal us, though.
True.
I guess it's a risk worth taking.
Yeah. But also, how did Meredith know they were in there? I don't know.
They must have left paper out. They must have missed something. And so the consequences of that, of course, at the police station, Liz is walking into her office where Elena and Matt are sitting in front of her desk waiting. Obviously, they're in huge trouble.
Clearly.
And Liz is like, what were you thinking? And Elena starts them with, I know that we had no right. Liz is immediately pissed. She's like, no right? You broke the law. Like, you guys literally, as Matt said when they walked in, breaking and entering, guys.
Yeah.
And Elena, like, tries to make excuses, saying, like, but we found something that clears Alaric. It's going to give him an alibi for the Brian Walters murder. And Liz is like, this? Yeah, I have that.
I know.
And she tells them that she got a letter from the county coroner's office. And, there was this huge apology about how the death of Brian Walters had the wrong time. Meredith had already brought it to her and had apologized multiple times. And Matt's like, well, why did she have a copy hidden in her closet? And Liz is like, I don't know. And I can't ask her, Matt, because the fact that you guys broke into her house to get it, that means you can't ask about it, future cop Matt, not future sheriff Matt Donovan. But anyway, she just asks them, like, do you even know how much I'm protecting both of you? And Elena says, I'm sorry. And Liz says, like, a defeated, like, just get out of my office. Go home. Please, like, Alaric will be released as soon as the letter is authenticated. Get out of here.
Go. Yeah.
I feel for Liz. These two kids, two kids with no siblings either. No parents, nothing. They're the two who are just living by themselves at 18, which is probably not allowed anyway.
No, yeah, taking matters into their own hands, yeah.
Yeah, like, I'm sure she is probably protecting them in so many ways that they're not aware of because of the fact they're two 18-year-olds living by themselves.
Yeah.
Let alone doing all of this. So... yeah, I don't know. It's just so funny that they did this, that she has to protect them. Obviously, I would be so fed up if I were her.
I know. Stop. Like these idiots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Speaking of these idiots.
Yes, literally speaking of these idiots.
Yeah. Stefan is walking out of the grill. He is done with this. And Rebekah and Damon are walking behind him. And they're talking about Stefan.
Yeah, they're just following him like he can't hear them.
Yeah, they're following him not that far behind and just talking about him in normal voices that he can obviously hear. And Rebekah asks, so he doesn't want to drink human blood. And Damon tells her he's an eternally guilty conscience. And Rebekah is like, funny, when I knew him in the 20s, he didn't have any conscience at all. One of the things I like most about him, actually. Can't possibly think he can survive without feeding.
Yeah.
And Damon is like, on the contrary, he's determined to live his life pursuing one extreme or the other. He's a stubborn one, my brother. I think I'm going to need some help with this one. And Rebekah asks what she can do to help when Damon sees a woman getting out of her car. And he kind of like looks at Rebekah and then rushes over in front of the woman and says hello. And the woman is just like, hi.
Oh, hey.
Oh, hi.
Mind you, they're in the back of the girl in a creepy alleyway with like dumpsters and
vamp
stuff.
sped in front of her.
Yeah, and she's just like, oh, hey.
Oh, hey. He is
hot.
that guy.
Yeah. If Ian Somerhalder did that to any of us, I'm sure
I'd probably be like,
a high percentage of us would be like, oh, hey.
Hi.
Instead of the normal reaction of, who is this
turning
scary
and
man
running.
who's about to kill me?
But anyway, Damon is like, this may seem very forward, but you're just so pretty. And she thanks him, and Damon's like, starts compelling her immediately, and is like,
He didn't even need to. He definitely could have just been like, can I bite you? And she probably would have been like, sure.
Yeah, she was so down. She was the most down. But he starts compelling her, and he's like, please don't scream. You're about to have a very, very bad night.
Yeah.
Classic. And Damon bites her and starts to feed, and Stefan stops walking, obviously he can smell the blood, and rushes over to Damon and pushes him off the woman and yells at Damon to stop. And Rebekah sort of catches the woman as she falls backward. And Damon tells Stefan that it's dinner time. Like, have a bite. Come on. And Stefan is like, what are you doing? Like, are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
And Damon says, tough love, Stefan. You're not going to survive this cold turkey thing. You never do. It's time to get that monkey off your back.
Yeah.
And Stefan, is trying to fight it. But Damon says, feed or I will let Rebekah have her way with her. And she'll kill her. And Rebekah is like, I will.
Yeah, she's like, yay, this is so fun.
She's like, I'm having a good time.
This is the most fun she's had in forever.
Probably.
Her family sucks right now, so
They
it probably
do.
is the most fun she's had in a while.
Truly. And Damon keeps egging Stefan on and tells him, her blood will be on your hands, or you could just have a little drink and save her life. Like, come on. You were the one that said you didn't want any more innocent lives slaughtered. Save her. Go on. Have a bite. I snatched, you eat, I'll erase, I'll even heal her for you. Just trying to get Stefan to feed. And Stefan's like, why are you doing this? Like, what blood does to me. And Damon tells him he's doing this because he can't keep letting the blood control him. You always have let it control you, and I'm just here to help you learn how to fight it. And Rebekah is like, this is rubbish. And she goes in to bite the woman. But Stefan rushes over, pushes Rebekah out of the way, and grabs the woman. And he's doing the Stefan, staring at the blood dripping down her neck. Can't resist. And then he bites her and starts feeding. And Damon tells Rebekah he's got it from here so she can go. Mm-hmm. And Rebekah is like, but the night's just getting started. We were just having a good time. And this is where Damon is like, scram. No one likes a lurker.
Oh, yeah, a lurker. I forgot he calls her that.
Which I love.
Yeah.
And Rebekah is like, you're a real arse, And Damon's like, so I'm told. And then she just leaves. And, at this point, Stefan's been feeding for a minute while they had this conversation. And Damon's like, all right, that's enough. Like, come on. You're going to bleed her dry. You're going to drain her. Come on. And Damon eventually pushes Stefan off of the woman.
Yeah, they're having a struggle.
Yeah, they're struggling over her. And Stefan has blood running down his chin. And he tries to go feed some more, but Damon pushes him off of her again. And he's like, I said that is enough. Do you want to fight hunger or do you want to fight me? Mm. And Damon bites his wrist to heal the woman and, feeds her and is like...
Calls her a good girl.
I was going to say, he's like, I got you. That's a good girl.
Yeah.
And at this point, Elena and Matt are now, for some reason, in the grill alleyway.
It's by the police station.
That's true.
But they're walking arm in arm, which is so cute.
They're cute, yeah. And
they're like, so we didn't get arrested today.
Yeah, thank God. We're going to have a good rest of the night.
Yeah.
And they obviously see this and they see, all the blood. And Elena is like, what is going on here? And Stefan turns around and he's covered in blood, which Elena sees. And he tries to wipe the blood off of his mouth. But Elena asks again, like, what are you two doing?
Yeah, and she gives such a heartbroken Stefan.
Yeah, they do the Stefan.
Yeah,
Elena.
She literally looks heartbroken.
Yeah. And Elena asks, what are you two doing? And Damon tells her, relax. It was just a little experiment. No need to make this more dramatic than it needs to be. And Matt is like, Elena, let's just go.
Yeah.
But Elena is like shocked.
She won't move an inch. Matt is like pushing her.
Yeah, she just keeps staring at Stefan, and Matt is like eventually like dragging her.
Yeah.
And they kind of walk off eventually, and Stefan watches them leave, and then turns back to Damon, obviously upset, especially that Elena had to see this.
Yeah.
But now he's also relapsed, and Damon is like, so that's gonna take a little time. Just trying to be casual.
Yeah.
And Stefan like bumps into Damon and walks away, and like Damon calls after him and tries to tell him to wait, but
but
obviously
Stefan just keeps going. Poor Stefan.
I know.
This is such a setback. Like literally
really
not
is.
helpful at all. I don't know what Damon's. I've never
understand.
Every single time that Damon does this to him, I don't understand it. I can understand in 1912 because that was the first time he had seen Stefan since the day they changed.
Sure.
Everybody kills somebody on the day they change. Like, nobody has any control that first week. But, like, and so I understand being, like, 50 years later, thinking, like, oh, yeah, let's just drink together, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you see him rip somebody's head off, you hear that he becomes the Ripper of Monterey.
Yeah, what?
You hear everything, the whole stuff that just happened with Klaus. Like, how can you be like, just drink casually, buddy? Like,
come on, just have
easy.
a sip. Yeah, no, I know. I had comments about this later when Damon literally brings up that he knows he became the Ripper of Monterey. Yeah. It makes this plot line make no sense. But also even all of the season 1 stuff where he's trying to get him to like casually drink.
100%. It doesn't make any sense.
It feels almost like a plot hole. Like not fully, but it's close. Like
I mean, I guess the thing we can say is his best friend, his drinking buddy, is also an alcoholic.
That's true.
So Damon is just really not.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if he's just not aware or not sensitive to it. But either way, it's almost not a plot hole. It's literally just a character flaw.
That's true.
It is just a character. That's true. Because they're consistent about it. They're so consistent about like Damon just doesn't care.
He doesn't care. Let
addiction is just a joke to him.
Get wiped out. Their heads ripped off. Sure.
So I don't know, but why he would try to do this and not a blood bag at least? I could totally understand being like,
try a blood bag.
Let's do blood bags.
It's a limited quantity.
It's a limited quantity.
No one gets hurt.
Yeah, there's not the temptation of a person. It's cold, so it's different. Like I don't know. That seems like at least a little bit more sense of how we can start controlling this. Fully drinking from a girl when you've been going cold turkey for days. Yeah. Also doing it out in the open in an alley. Like, everything about this is just, like, so poor planned. Bad. And that it's not planned at all.
Yeah.
Anyway, of course, going into the consequences of that is, like, Elena seeing that happen. And so we go to the Gilbert house where Elena is now sitting at the dining table with Matt, who has made her a mug of tea, and he sits it down and he gives it to her. Love the, like, Matt making her tea, because in 322, we know we're already setting up Matt as a trusted maker of drinks for Elena.
When he really shouldn't be.
When he shouldn't be. But anyway, so he makes her tea. And Elena tells him, like, just say it. Again, they're best friends. She knows he's holding back and he has something to say. And Matt does finally say, I just don't get it, your thing with them. And Elena explains, it doesn't make sense. But at the beginning, after my parents died, there was something about being with Stefan that just felt safe. And Matt obviously doesn't understand this and asks, safe? Elena, he's a vampire. And Elena says, I know, believe me. Just saying it out loud sounds crazy, but it's like I knew that he would never stop loving me, like he would never... And she kind of trails off there and hesitates before, like, she can finish the thought. And Matt asks her what. And she finally says, die. Like, he would never die. And Matt, connects that thought even wider to, like, your parents did. The realization of this is such a crazy scene for them to do, because it feels like Elena, as she's saying it, it's like one of those things like you've probably thought before, like a shower thought, a late night thought, but have never really let yourself think, and then saying it out loud is so demystifying of the Stelena relationship and of her feelings about Stefan. And it's such an interesting piece in like where Stelena will go after this point.
I know. I also just love this reasoning. I love that they only really apply it to like Stefan in this conversation. I don't know. It just makes so much sense. I'm like, obviously Selena has more than just the fact that Stefan will never die. But I'm like, it really does make a lot of sense. Like why she would 100%. Be down for this vampire relationship when it's like, very clearly an insane thing to date a vampire.
Yeah, so against her morals too. Yeah. She's the most like people shouldn't get hurt or die kind of, person. And I feel like we did talk about this in season 1 where like, how can she kind of get past that? It seems kind of counter to her. And I feel like we did talk a lot about this whole factor of like, Elena needs dependability and Stefan is dependable. Up until he wasn't, which is why it kind of never works with them ever again after that point. But anyway, so they've realized, like, he will never die like her parents did. And Matt asks, and Damon, because obviously, like, it's not the same with Damon. She already had Stefan. And Elena says, Damon just sort of snuck up on me. He got under my skin, and no matter what I do, I can't shake him. Again, like, such an interesting, I love that they did this scene, like, with Matt. Like, it's so interesting that that's what she chooses to say about Stefan, and then immediately after that's what she chooses to say about Damon. Like, such a different response, such a different way to think about them and talk about them. If you were the guy who was like, she fell in love with me because I wouldn't die, but she fell in love with that guy because he got under her skin and she can't shake him. There's such different ways to describe to like men that you're in love with, quote unquote.
It's so different. I'm like, oh, it's just so good.
Yeah.
Like it really does. I feel like obviously being a Delena shipper, I feel like this is really representative, just like very distilled like versions of their relationship. It's just so true. It's like Stefan was dependable. Damon is, the love that consumes you. You want
exactly.
like that whole speech.
Damon is passion, and he is this thing that just snuck up on her and got under her skin that she can't shake. It really is such like a strong difference.
It really is.
I love that she was able to verbalize it in this scene in this way. And I feel like it's very interesting that they chose to make it, because Elena has so often said, I can't talk about it. Like when her and Bonnie literally talked about her kissing Damon a couple episodes ago, she was like, I can't say a single thing about it because I just can't say it. So anyway, Matt responds, once you fall in love with someone, I don't know if you can ever shake them. And there's a look shared between them.
I was going to say Matt's face. This was such a good like Matt acting moment. First of all, rare good Matt episode, I feel.
Yeah, he usually doesn't get much.
No, but then the Elena Matt dynamic really works.
And it's his strongest thing, I feel like, generally. Besides Vicky.
Is. Yes, definitely. But even here, he has like that kind of pained, but not too pained look. Like,
yeah, it's almost just this like nostalgic pain in a way.
Exactly. Like he definitely has made his peace with it. He's not the jealous Matt of season 1.
Yeah.
But there is like a look on his face where it's like,
Matt loved Elena.
He loved Elena. He probably loved her in this way that she's talking about.
100%.
But
and it's totally resonating. And I also feel like, to me, it reminded me too of this like acknowledgement that like Elena loves Damon too, and like how do you get past? Elena loves Damon and Stefan, and Matt loves Elena. Yeah. Elena never loved Matt.
No.
I don't know. There's such an awkward energy here. And of course that makes Elena apologize.
Of course.
And says that like this is weird, talking about both of them with you. And he says, no, not really. Which is so sweet to be like, I love you so much. It's okay.
It's okay.
I'm okay with it.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we're still friends. Like that's, I feel like what he's giving here.
I feel like Matt really needed this redemption.
100%.
Like, first of all, he has admittedly been given like crumbs.
Yes,
since
he has.
Like the Caroline relationship.
Yeah.
But this is such a good redemption on like the Matt jealousy plot.
And then he tells her that he got her something, to switch topics, and he pulls out the Gilbert journal, and it was in his jacket pocket, and he hands it to Elena, and he says, it's your family's, you should have it. Meredith and that idiot deputy were too busy questioning you to give a damn about me. Sometimes it pays to be the only normal one in a town of vampires. I'm practically invisible. Which is funny, but also poor Matt feeling like he's so invisible. He could just steal something and he got away with it.
From the sheriff's office.
Yeah. He's that invisible. Nobody cared at all. But Elena like kind of looks at Matt, gives him a look. But before anything can be said or done there, Suddenly, the front door opens and Alaric is finally home. Elena gets up and immediately, of course, walks over to him and she asks if he's okay. And he says, yeah, I'm all right. And they hug. It's so sweet. I could cry watching this, knowing
their faces too. Oh,
I know, knowing. And then knowing where this is going.
Yeah.
Their family. Like, I love Alaric and I love Alaric and Elena.
They knew what they were doing, building to the gut punches of the season 3 finale.
100%.
The Matt-Elena dynamic, the Alaric-Elena dynamic.
They were very, very strong in the writer's room with this season of, like, we know where we're going and we have to set it up.
We have to get there.
Emotionally, like, as much of a gut punch as it possibly could. So, yeah, them hugging.
So good.
Family.
Yeah, love them.
Speaking of family.
Love and family, a shot I love.
Stefan, great one.
Yeah, this is actually what first came to mind when you were talking about, at the top of the episode, all of the great visuals. Stefan is sitting in front of the lit fireplace in the Salvatore house, and he's just like
so moody.
It's so moody. It's so like dark academia. It's like, I love him. And Damon comes in after like a second and is like, they let Rick go. Sheriff Forbes says she's out of suspects again, but Rick is in the clear at least. I know it may not seem like it, but you did really well tonight. And before you know it, you're going to be the king of moderation, and Elena will understand. Okay, Damon, sure.
Yeah, this is where it's like, I think it isn't a plot hole. It is a character flaw.
Delusional.
He's really just delusional. He's like, you got this, buddy.
You got this.
We're going to do it.
Yeah.
You can drink just like the rest of us.
Yep. Sure. And Stefan just says, it doesn't really matter what Elena thinks. And Damon is like, no more of this. No humanity, Stefan. There's a road called recovery, and we are on it.
I love these as we're on it.
I know. I
so
like that
cute.
too.
We're in this together.
We are in this together. And Stefan gets up from where he's sitting in front of the fireplace and walks over to Damon and is like, why do you even care? The whole brother bonding thing, getting Elena to hate you. What do you feel guilty about? Like, you kissed her. Is that it, Damon? Because you can stop. Go back to hating me. It was a lot easier. And Damon is like, can you just for 1 minute actually believe that I'm trying to help you? Like, there doesn't have to be this ulterior motive.
Yeah.
And Stefan tells Damon that he doesn't need his help. And Damon is like, are you kidding? Do you remember what happened the last time you said that? And Stefan is like, what are you talking about? Of course. And Damon is like, 1912, Stefan. The last time I convinced you to drink human blood.
Yeah.
Cue the flashback.
Yeah, cue the flashback. Sage fighting another man in a boxing ring. This is what happens in this episode for some reason.
Yep.
And Stefan and Damon are standing there together watching. And Damon is telling Stefan, he's doing like the same thing Sage did to him, like, pick somebody out. But Stefan's like, no, Damon, they're people.
Yeah.
But Damon's like, they are people, Stefan. People with blood pumping through their veins, waiting to be opened up and sucked dry. You've just forgotten how good it feels. And then modern Damon, like through voiceover, connects that thought. And so had I. But Sage, she reminded me, it's worth it. It's all worth it. And, 1912 Stefan is just staring at the man who Sage had knocked down because he's, like, bleeding. And obviously, like, even this Stefan who has his life together, quote unquote, can't handle that. And Damon tells Stefan, not him, go for that guy. Go for the woman across the ring. She's the one. Again, just repeating. Not him literally learning this from Sage and then like an hour later. Yeah, being like, Stefan, try this. Guess what I just learned?
I had a great time.
But anyway, Stefan's like, I can't do that anymore. And Damon's like, you can. You just like won't do it, but you should. We can do it. And he says, let the past be the past. Have a drink with me, brother. And then we see outside the tent, somehow he's gotten Stefan into this. Stefan is like feeding on the girl and Damon's just watching. And he says, I knew you still had it in you. And Stefan continues to feed. And Damon walks over to try to get him off. Very similar to like the last scene we just saw with them. And he's like saying, don't be greedy, like trying to get him off of her. But Stefan, while still feeding, pushes Damon away and is continuing to drain this woman. And Damon is like panicking, like being like, Stefan, like stop. You are literally about to kill her.
Yeah.
Because eventually, of course, Stefan does kill her. He feeds so hard in classic Stefan Ripper, what we've seen before.
Yep.
He rips her whole head off and her whole body drops to the ground. And he then falls to his knees too. Obviously, that knocked him out of it. And he is absolutely freaking out. He immediately starts apologizing. He's just over and over, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And he picks up her head and tries to connect it to her body. God. Damon's just standing there like, Stop.
Please stop.
Stefan, stop. And Stefan's still just, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, they're both breaking down.
Yeah,
they're both
this
losing
is a disaster.
It is a complete disaster. And Damon starts to grab Stefan by the shoulders to try to pull him away. But Stefan pushes at him and he's like, what did you do to me? Poor Stefan had been sober for decades, and Damon just completely broke it.
Yep.
And Damon's like trying to shush him and calm him down, but Stefan again says, what did you do to me? Mm-hmm. And Damon just says, you need to learn how to stop. Like, I can help you. He's still, even like he is in modern day, like, I'll fix it. It's okay. We can work on it together. Mm-hmm. But Stefan gets up and is like backing away, and he's like, I don't need your help. Mm-hmm. He's obviously so upset, and he runs off into the woods and disappears. Not Damon literally destroying decades work of Lexi's hard work.
I know.
Because we literally saw Lexi find him in, I don't know what year it was. I don't know if it was 1864 or 5.
It was 1864. Maybe 5, I guess. But
it was really close to when he had turned. And I have to assume that for like 40 years, she's been working on him to get him sober. And now one night, this is what starts off. It's
The Ripper of Monterey.
Yeah, this is what becomes the Ripper of Monterey, the Ripper that we see in the 20s. Like, this puts him on, like, a decade-long bender, like he said in the past, where once he's on, it takes a decade to get off.
Yeah, which is literally what Damon acknowledges that I was alluding to earlier. Damon, in the present, says, the Founders Council killer, which I love that name, by the way. The Founders Council killer had nothing on you. By the decade's end, they were calling you the Ripper of Monterey. I let you walk away. I watched you go over the edge, and I didn't do anything to stop you. And Stefan tries to tell Damon, you couldn't have stopped me. Like, there was nothing you could have done. And Damon is like, sure, I could have, but I just didn't want to. But I want to now. And whenever you go too far, I will be there to pull you back. Every second, every day, until you don't need me. And Stefan asks him why. And Damon says, because right now, you're all I got.
So sweet.
Yeah. I really love the flashback. I think you can appreciate them more having watched them a few times. Because, yeah, it really does show they did have that whole 50 years where they didn't talk.
Yeah.
And they are choosing to do it differently this time.
They really are. And again, like, getting that reminder in this episode that they had that whole eternity of misery thing. And then that fact that this is where the series had picked up on. A year ago, they were still on the eternity of misery kick.
Yeah.
And they're just in such a drastically different place now. It's so impactful. And again, going back to the whole idea, too, of, like, vampirism is a very, very lonely lifestyle.
Yes.
Like, everyone you ever know dies, or you can no longer speak to them. And so to have one person who you've known your entire life, and to be able to have that, your sibling as a vampire with you, like, of course you want that to be your best friend. You're like true north, the person you can always go back to. Yeah. And it's very impactful that Damon is making that effort now because he's in the power position by being the one who had that initial problem with Stefan that started this whole thing.
Yeah, true.
And he, like you said, he wants to do it different this time. Yeah. So it's very impactful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so going into some more emotional moments. At the Gilbert house, Elena is sitting on the couch reading the Gilbert journal that Matt brought for her. And Alaric comes downstairs saying that he's going to make coffee, even though it's almost midnight in a few minutes, apparently.
I know, I thought that too. It's like, okay.
So he's still crazy, confirmed.
Yeah.
And so Elena's like, I'm good. I'm literally going to bed in a few.
Yep.
And Alaric tells her that Liz told him everything that Elena had done today. And he says, like, he appreciates it, but he doesn't want her getting in trouble for him. And she says, if not for you, then for who? And I just love that. She's so ride or die for her,
she is.
Her friends, her family. And Alaric is, like, the most important person in that right now with Jeremy gone. So yeah, she's, if not for you, then who would I get in trouble for? And Alaric says, well, I'm still the one who's supposed to be looking after you, even if I suck at it. Yeah. But Elena compromises. She says, okay, well, how about we agree to take care of each other then? And he relents and says, deal. And again, this makes everything so much more tragic that's about to happen. Like, I, again, really wanted to cry watching this scene the first time, where I was just like, they don't even know.
I know.
They don't know what's going to happen so soon. And so Alaric notices, that she's got the journal, and he asks what she's reading, and she shows him that it's a Gilbert journal. And she tells him that at first she thought it was Jonathan Gilbert's journal, but it's actually his granddaughter's journal, Samantha, who apparently, she says, went just as crazy as he did. And she jokes, great genes, huh? And she gets up from the couch and he says, well, at least you have something to look forward to. And they exchange their good nights, and then she goes upstairs to go to bed. So we'll check back in on that situation as she continues to read more of the journal.
Yeah. Back at the Salvatore house, Damon is left alone. He's playing piano in the parlor, very melancholy, which I also thought was a fun choice. Have we ever seen Damon,
No, okay, well, I was thinking,
before?
I think recently we saw a photo that was printed somewhere where he was on the piano, and it was kind of like, Damon plays the piano? But yeah, I thought that too. I was like, I don't think we've ever seen anybody play this piano. We've seen them use it for a makeout spot, and that's it.
Of course, and we'll see it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love seeing someone actually play it.
I know, and I kind of love that it was Damon. It's so fun. But then Stefan walks in with a big book, and he's gonna make amends.
Back to scientist Stefan.
Yeah, he's gotten his little whodunit mystery. He's back in a good mood. And Stefan says, I dug up the old family archives from the 1900s. And Damon kind of sasses him and is like, oh, so now you want to be helpful? And Stefan asks Damon, you want me to go back to being mad at you? Come on. I'm trying to throw you a bone here. Yeah. And Damon, he takes it. He's like, what'd you find? They're both trying to make amends here. And Stefan says, nothing from 1912. They never did arrest anyone for the founders' murders. But then he lays open this big book in front of Damon and is like, but they did get a confession 10 years later. And Damon is like, wait, what? Who? And Stefan tells him, Jonathan Gilbert's granddaughter, Samantha. They thought she was crazy. They locked her up in an insane asylum. Damon is obviously surprised. And Stefan also adds, the trail ends there. I mean, she was a founder, so they look out for their own.
Yeah,
obviously.
AKA they were never
under the rug.
Yeah, they were never going to arrest her. Nothing was ever going to happen since she was a founder.
Exactly. And Damon is like, I love the delivery on this line. Yeah. It's just not a crazy line, but his delivery is very good. He's like, Samantha Gilbert, that is very weird. And Stefan asks why, and Damon says, because I'm pretty sure I had already killed her.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. How could she be dead and then be killing people?
Yeah.
Some other people who are getting right on the same track is, of course, at the Gilbert house. Alaric is making his coffee, and Meredith knocks on the door. He answers it and is obviously not happy to see her at all. She literally got
shot him.
Yeah, she shot him, and then he spent the night in jail and the entire day. So yeah, I would have beef too.
Yeah.
And Meredith says, I know what this looks like, and he's like, well, I sure as hell don't. You shoot me, you have me thrown in jail, and then you also have me freed. Clearly, the most crazy mind game. These are crazier mind games than even Catherine was playing, or Isabel, truly. Apparently. But anyway, she says, I did it for you, Rick. I forged the coroner's note to clear your name. So she got him out of jail on purpose. And Alaric is just so done. He's like, oh, you know what people are, right? You are psycho. And he tries to slam the door in her face, but she stops it. And she's like, now that you've been cleared, they'll look somewhere else. They won't look your way again. Please, you have no reason, but I need you to trust me anyway. If you let me in, I can explain. And we cut upstairs and we see Elena's in her room reading through Samantha Gilbert's journal. And we're hearing these echoes of voices, a voiceover from her of I don't feel like myself. I'm losing time, as though I'm going mad. And the pages are looking crazy. Like
scribbles.
Crazier than even the Jonathan Gilbert pages we saw in season 1, which again, the whole diary thing really reminds me of season 1. It's
I know.
so season 1 coded.
It really is. Okay, but first, before we move on from the scene, why would Meredith get him out of jail if she knows he's a serial killer?
I don't know. I think she likes him and realizes that there's something going on here, that it's not him doing it.
Yeah, that it's supernatural. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's why she's willing to get him out. But yes, you're right.
He's literally a danger to himself and others.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
But if she can tell him and he can work with Damon and stuff and they can lock him up, which is what happens, is they actually do lock him up. But yeah, it is kind of crazy.
It's wild.
But he at least doesn't ever suffer any legal, actual government consequences because of what she did. So
I guess
it worked in that sense.
It did work, but she's wild. She calls out Isabel for getting the restraining order and then getting with him. Girl, this is just as crazy.
This is just as crazy, if not more.
Yeah. But anyway, Stefan and Damon are, they're putting the pieces together,
everyone around town is doing this
putting this together. And Stefan is like, wait, so you think Samantha Gilbert is still alive, running around Mystic Falls, killing founders? And Damon says, there's no way. Like, if she became a vampire, they would know about it, right? Like, they must.
Yeah.
And Stefan is like...
Damon in the first season, we don't all know each other. There's not a vampire bar and grill that we all go to. Him this season, we'd know.
We would know.
We would know.
Sure. But Stefan is like... That she must have had a ring that brought her back to life then. She was a Gilbert. She could have the Gilbert ring. Mm-hmm. They obviously existed at that point.
Yeah, and they go through generations.
Mm-hmm. And Damon says, yeah, but even if she had a ring, she couldn't still be alive. It doesn't protect her from old age. Obviously, that was like 100 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
And Stefan says, Jonathan Gilbert only made 2 of those rings. Jeremy has one of them and the other. And Damon finishes the sentence by saying... It's Alaric's.
Yep, the boys who pieced it together, what the common thread is there.
Yep, also piecing it together.
Yep, they'll continue. Is at the Gilbert house. Alaric is looking through a folder with crime scene evidence in it, and Meredith is with him, and she's explaining, like the sheriff said, the victims were killed with your weapons, and we get flashbacks of the scenes of, like, Bill's and Brian's murders with the weapons and things, and Alaric saying, like, yeah, but I also got attacked. And Meredith points out, with your own knife, and the wound could have been self-inflicted. We heard in other episodes how she said, like, you couldn't tell if the person was right-handed or left-handed. Like, there was no evidence. But that's because it could be self-inflicted. Dark Alaric somehow was smart enough to attack himself in order to cover for himself, but not smart enough to use someone else's weapons.
Yeah.
Insane.
Well, I was wondering, like, why he did it to himself. Was it really to cover his own tracks? I don't know.
I think it was. We might get more information later. I don't remember.
I can't
but I have to assume that was why, which also is like, use someone else's weapons then.
Yeah, I don't know.
And have alibis. But anyway, so Alaric obviously is not believing any of this. Of course, you would never believe if you were told you were a serial killer secretly. He says, it's impossible. I would know if I were killing people. And Meredith is like, would you? Have you had any blackouts or instances of lost time? And Alaric's just like, you're insane, which is answer enough, yes.
Yeah.
And she says, no, but I think you might be.
Yeah.
she's so real for that. Are you insane?
No,
but you are.
I love that.
But she asks the valid question then. You wear a ring that lets you cheat death, Rick. How many times before can you die before it changes you? And Alaric sits down now, and Meredith sits next to him, and she says, I think you're sick, and I want to help you. This has happened before almost 100 years ago. Actually, another thing I just thought as I was reading that is, like, founders protect their own, and maybe she's thinking of him as, like, he's a council member, he's the, like...
Yeah, maybe.
She's pulling a classic founders card of protect my own.
That's possible, yeah.
I think that is her logic currently.
Yeah.
But then, and we see another person who is going to follow another founder who will follow that same logic of protect my own. Elena, of course, appears in the doorway, and Meredith and Alaric notice her. And Alaric says, Elena, and she says, Rick, I think she's right. And she kind of, like, shows the Gilbert journal that she's holding as a clear indicator that, like, the Samantha journal, like, led her to the same exact conclusion that, the same thing is happening to Alaric that happened to Samantha. Yeah. But the fact that everyone, Stefan, Damon, and Elena are just now getting there, and Meredith has been there for a while.
Been there for weeks.
She's too smart for her own good.
Yeah,
literally,
she is.
The people closest to Alaric had no clue, and she clocked it immediately.
Yeah, she was like, he's losing it. Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, she's wild.
And then the last scene of confirmation.
Yep, we do see.
Flashback.
Yeah, last little flashback. We see basically the end of the first scene where Zachariah Salvatore is walking through the town square and is stabbed. But this time we see, like, a close-up of the Gilbert ring. And then we see, like, it's Samantha Gilbert who is stabbing Zachariah Salvatore to death.
She was the murderer.
Yeah.
Same ring as Alaric.
Same ring. I have so many questions about how this all plays out, but I feel like it's probably best to save it when
Yeah, more stuff will kind of like get unveiled in the next one, so we can save some more speculation there, because I feel like it is an episode where, like, yes, you get a ton of info, but it raises more questions than it answers.
Exactly.
That's
I know.
100% the point of this episode. Is more questions than answers.
Yeah.
So leave your questions in the comments and stuff, and we'll hopefully get to them in like the next couple episodes.
Yeah, I have many.
Or we'll have to do a special about the ring or something. I don't know.
We honestly could. I feel like I have so much to say about it.
Yeah.
And then there's an episode where Esther. But that's not even the next one. It's later on. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe, this is the end game for like the season, you know?
Yeah,
like
that's
this
true.
Is
this is the big payoff.
Plot. So yeah, a lot to be said about everything that's going down.
Yeah. But first, let's hear what you have to say about what's going down. We'll turn it over to our voicemail host.
Hi, this is Nick, a first-time caller. In this episode, it was more at the beginning. I just wanted to point out how I really loved the transition where we got to see Mystic Falls in 1912 right after the murder to present-day Mystic Falls. It was just really cool, and I enjoyed the transition. It really was setting the mood for the episode of going back and forth. An out-of-pocket moment that I had for this episode, since you guys already said Alaric getting shot, which was crazy. At the beginning of the episode, when Elena and Matt are running with each other, he just casually throws out that she can't outrun her problems. And I was like, damn, Matt, okay. For my song of the episode, I personally liked Let's Dance by the Gods Macho. It was in the scene at the grill where Damon and Stefan are drinking and Rebekah is like talking to them. So anyways, I'll keep this short. I love the pod. I've been listening to it for a month, and I make sure to listen every Thursday. Thanks for making my job a little more enjoyable. Goodbye.
I love that. Thank you for that.
Oh my god, that was so good. I have so much to comment on, but a lot of
it will fit into this, so that was perfect.
Yeah. I love that you both called out the same scene in the beginning.
The moon. It's so good.
It's really
a perfect transition.
This is making me want to rewatch the episode again.
I know. That's what I was thinking. Some of the scenes we were talking about, I was like, I'm gonna put this on tonight.
Yeah, same.
Just watch it 3 times.
Bedtime watch. Yeah. Okay, so I think we can respond to that in the
they'll fit into the sections. Yeah.
First, real quick, for deaths, we have Zachariah Salvatore stabbed to death by Samantha, which we just saw.
Yep.
The random woman that Damon kills in 1912.
Which is that supposed to be Samantha Gilbert?
That's what I thought. It looks just like it looks like the same.
Yeah, and I feel like
actor, but
you can't tell the first time because you're not supposed to know on a first watch that he killed Samantha until he says he killed Samantha. But when he says he killed her, it has to have been then. I don't think he's in Mystic Falls in 1912 for that long.
No.
So I feel like it's Samantha, but we can say unidentified woman.
Yeah.
But probably
I think
Samantha.
It's possibly Samantha, yeah. And then Mariana Lockwood, her bestie, was decapitated by Stefan. So
much worse death.
Oh my god.
Yeah, one got to they literally lived what was their names? April and Sarah or whatever.
Oh yeah.
The exact same thing almost.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad. Anyway.
Yeah, that's tough. Oh boy, that sucks for them. So yeah, 3 deaths.
Yeah.
In this app.
Nice.
Yeah.
Of course, Simon got her out of pocket. Would have done differently. I'll say mine really quick. Was Damon forcing Stefan to drink was so unnecessary, but it's so serious.
That feels almost too serious.
Yeah, that was the only one that came to mind. Where it's just like it's so bad that it was just the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah, I had Meredith freeing Alaric, even though she knows he's a serial killer.
Funny.
It makes no sense. It's kind of out of pocket.
Funny. But I've got to say, Matt is swaying me.
Also, rare like Matt out of pocket, but in like a funny way, not in like a.
He always does that though, when he's like he's so he just doesn't care. He will say anything.
Yeah, he really will. I kind of like Matt.
You can't outrun your problems. Yeah. That is pretty funny.
I like that one.
I think we give it to that. Yeah, you swayed us.
I like it. Yeah.
Matt wins out of pocket.
Yeah. For quote. I mean, there was an obvious one. We already talked about it.
Yeah.
I always see it on like those lists of like top Vampire Diaries.
100%. It's one of the most memorable.
Yeah. But I did have to give a little shout out. So I had one winner and one honorable mention. Mm-hmm. I had to give a little honorable mention to Scram. Nobody likes a lurker.
That's
whatever
so
he says to Rebekah. Damon, that is.
So funny.
Yeah, I just thought that was funny. The Scram was just really funny.
Scram is such a funny thing to say to people. I'm going to start doing that.
I know.
Scram.
We got to bring back Scram.
We're bringing it back, everyone.
Yeah.
My honorable mention went to Rebekah for, of course, the famous TikTok moment of that's a bit sexist. A woman could easily kill a man with the right motivation.
Oh, I do love that too.
It's a great one. It's a funny one where you didn't at the time this wasn't a popular thing. It's become popular in the last couple years on TikTok, but it's a great quote.
It is a really good quote.
So I see why. But the winner is like so obvious. It's so obvious.
Yeah.
I said it the first time, so if you want to say it this time.
I'll say it this time. Yeah, Damon comes in and talks to Stefan. He says, he's mocking him. He's like, "Dear diary, a chipmunk asked me my name today. I told him it was Joe. That lie will haunt me forever."
That's one of those things I could like pull out of nowhere. You could be like, say a Damon quote, and this will be one of the first 5 that come to my mind.
Absolutely.
So it's so iconic. It's so funny. It's such a Stefan coded thing. That lie will haunt me forever.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Okay. Easy winner. Dear diary.
I think a section that's a little bit more tricky is songs.
I know.
I felt like there were quite a few good songs in this episode.
There were. Yeah. Well, they were in the grill for a lot of it.
That's true. So there's a lot of music.
I
was tempted to write like 5 songs, and I ended up just going with 3 because I was like, I could nominate every single song that played at the grill, but
I know. I did the same. I did try to limit myself, but yeah, I went with 3, and I didn't really pick a winner.
Oh, interesting. I had one that clearly stuck out to me the most for my winner, but I will say like my first honorable mention was the obligatory last emotional song.
Okay, that was mine. That's my definite honorable mention.
Yeah, definite honorable mention.
Not a winner,
Be the song by Foy Vance. When Elena is reading the diary at the end and they reveal about Samantha. That was the obvious honorable mention of like, it's good. We always get an obligatory emotional song. It's not, what is the TikTok sound? You're good, but I want you to be better.
Yeah, the pulling off the pyramid. Yeah.
You're good, I wanted you to be great.
Yeah.
That's how I felt about that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I guess, Nick already mentioned one. So, yes. I also wanted to give at least an honorable mention to Let's Dance by Gods of Macho. Because,
I also had it as an honorable mention.
Yeah, I really like that song. I love the song, but there's another Gods of Macho song that I'm waiting for. That's what came to mind too. But I'm like,
I am too.
I don't know if it can be my winner. Not that I don't love like having a multiple.
The problem is also this one doesn't stand out because it is like a girl song, so you don't hear it a lot in the moment. Like Nick said, it is when Steph and Damon and Rebekah are drinking in the bar. Yeah. Again, love Gods of Macho, reoccurring TVD musician. But yeah, the other Gods of Macho one sticks out to me so much stronger that I didn't pick this one as my winner.
I know, yeah, I kind of felt the same.
So do we have the same winner, it sounds like?
Possibly.
Also, did we say the name of that one was Let's Dance by Gods of Macho?
Yeah. Okay, I think we said. If not, Nick got us. So
my winner was The Argument by Aiden Hawkins.
I didn't say that.
Whoa, that's such a shakeup.
Whoa, that's wild.
Let me talk about that song first.
Okay.
The Argument by Aiden Hawkins was the song that plays when Matt and Elena are talking and then Alaric gets home and when Stefan is dramatically staring into the fire. This song stood out to me so specifically. Like, it was such a moment to me, and it's so aided by the emotional conversation Matt and Elena are having about Stefan and Damon, and then the emotional arrival of Alaric coming home and Stefan's sad boy staring into the fire. Like, I don't know why. This was one that I was like, I would hear that anywhere and know that song was in Vampire Diaries. Like, that song really stood out to me. But it's funny you didn't even, like, have it on your list at all.
It was not even on my list.
But, yeah, that was my winner. What was your winner?
My winner was Don't Owe You a Thing by Gary Clark Jr. It's playing. It's the first song that's playing in the grill, like, during the first scene in the grill.
Yeah.
And it just stuck out the most to me of all the girl songs. And I like the vibe of all the girl songs. Like, it's more of, like, a rock and roll, like...
I debated putting that one on my honorable mentions, but that was where I was saying, like, I was like, do I want to put, like, every girl song on my honorable mentions? Because I don't remember them or hear them in the episodes for some reason. Like, girl songs are always...
Sometimes they
just blur out for me a lot of the time. So that was why I was kind of... It sounds like we got to do a poll this one. We have 3 different...
We have 3 votes for Let's Dance, so I don't know.
Oh, that's true. Maybe Let's Dance... I think we'd do a poll.
We can do a poll.
But I don't know what it's going to be between. So check our Instagram story. We'll do some sort of poll.
I think we can agree. We cut the Foy Vance emotional song.
We'll do a poll of some amount of songs, whether it's all 3 of those or less.
Well, yeah.
Keep an eye out, and we'll let you know what the official winner is on
the
playlist and on the story. So yeah, keep an eye on the playlist where we'll be adding whatever song ends up winning best song. But we will also be adding all 4 of those songs to our season 3 playlist, where we have all of the winners and honorable mentions for every single episode so far in season 3. So much good music on there. As you can see today, it is very hard to choose sometimes. So lots of great songs. But
yeah. And you can...
I forgot to say you can also follow our TikTok and Instagram, which is also linked in those various places to watch various memes, edits, vote in the polls, etc.
Yeah. And you can listen to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and you can watch the video version on YouTube. If you want to join us next week for Season 3, Episode 17, Break On Through.
Yeah.
A little more clarity on this Alaric situation.
Yes.
Yeah. But we'll leave it there for now.
Yeah. Thanks for watching and or listening to this one. Bye.